Welcome, Sally, again to the Zoom room. So let's just dive straight into our quote for the day. It's a bit of an email and some teaching, and then into the lesson. How long do you have today?
Got 2 hours.
Couple of hours, okay. Text is 10 paragraphs, so we could dive straight into the text. But the lessons are nice, and I know you suggested doing one or the other, but I've tried to condense the text a bit.
I just feel that the email that I've already read, so I've already that teaching, so it just feels like the text I never get to, or rarely do. The lesson, lesson I give it a good go in the mornings. But,
okay.
Show you do what you feel's right.
Okay. Well, we'll do some of both, I think. Go into the lesson. I mean, there's very little text, very little teaching. So bring that up. Okay, so I'll share my screen. Opening. Can't seem to make it bigger. Okay, so all right, so there's the quote for the day. Doesn't seem to be able to make it bigger because it wants me to have. Oh, there we go. Let's make that a bit bigger. There we go. If you read the quote.
To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment.
Ralph Waldo Emerson said that. He was one of the leaders of the Transcendentalism movement in the US. And he's really just highlighting the central problem with modern society is that most people are living a false self. They're living an illusion of an identity, thinking that they know who they are, but they don't. And it does present a miraculous opportunity to transcend it. The problem is this belief in a false self-concept on which our whole society is based. So you think about our social structures, our laws, the way everything works in this world, it's based on the idea that everyone's an individual person. We all have our own personal identity. We have ID numbers, we have passports, social security numbers in different countries. You have a name, you have your own, a job, a family. There's this identity that really is fundamental to human society. That unique identity, personality, life situation, problems, related grievances, it's all part of this self-concept that we believe in. And the only solution to this it's a fundamental perceptual problem. You're perceiving from a self that is not true, and therefore perceiving what is not true, because that self can only perceive falsely. That's the fundamental perceptual problem that almost all human beings suffer from. And because of that, we don't remember our true self. Our true self is buried, and we allow this self, allowing this self to guide us in every situation we experience in life. He is salvation, freedom, or awakening. So it's connecting with our true self, our source, which is a proxy for the source, really. When we look at the Holy Trinity diagram, see that between pure formless awareness and perfect love and the world of time and space lies this true self, Christ, Son of God. Call it the soul with a capital S, the extension, Buddha nature, the Atman in Eastern teachings, higher awareness. There's an awareness there that is able to perceive the world correctly. And so this is the bridge. This is the intermediary between this domain of pure formless awareness and this world of duality. Christ and then the Holy Spirit, which is just the ability to reinterpret and perceive correctly whatever's happening here. These become the way out. Listening to the voice of Christ in your mind, the true self, and then the perceptions that it brings, which are the true perceptions of Christ's vision, restores your mind into identifying only with this one self. And the more you identify with that, the more this experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love arises in your mind. And that's how the Holy Spirit and Christ return you to God as an experience. And when you frame it like that, it makes complete sense. It's a process that's unfolding, and the Christ and the Holy Spirit are not absolutely true. They're still part of the domain of separation, but they are the way out of the separation. So as he says, forgiveness is an illusion, but it's the only illusion that doesn't make more illusions. It's actually the illusion that ends the other illusions. So using the Christ and the Holy Spirit to do forgiveness, which is reinterpreting the dream, is the way out of the dream. So the importance of the one self, the Christ self, can't be underestimated, because it's how we learn. We learn the truth. We remember the truth in this world. And that leads us nicely into our lesson for the day, which is, I'm going to read the original there and the alternative.
Salvation comes from my one self. Freedom comes from my one self.
Okay, so let's go into where are we? That's 96. You read the alternative. There's not much translation there.
Although I am one self, I experience myself as two, both good and evil, loving and hating, mind and body. This sense of being split into opposites induces feelings of acute and constant conflict within me, and leads to my frantic attempts to reconcile these contradictory aspects of my self-perception. I have tried to find many solutions to this inner conflict, but none of them has worked. The opposites I perceive within myself will never be compatible. Only one really exists.
Okay, so what's he saying there in summary?
We perceive where there's two parts of us, good and bad, good and evil. And We'll never be free unless we focus on the true part. Doesn't say that, does it? We haven't got to that bit. You can't reconcile them. You can't combine them. You can't have them both. That's why we have inner conflict, because we keep swinging between them.
Vacillations between the two thought systems. And we're being trained by this mind training to notice those more and more, to see when we do that, so that we can correct it. We make another choice and choose the one and relinquish the other. But he's saying over and over and over again in this course the same thing, because he knows how tempting it is to try and fudge it. And while we'll just kind of make, we'll make a compromise and we'll dissociate the truth. We'll split our minds in that way, dissociate the truth and the illusion, and they seem to be in different parts of my mind. But if you bring them together, you see that they're completely contradictory. How can you have two contradictory ideas and thought systems that are completely opposite and be sane? They disagree with each other on every instant, in every way. So over and over he's emphasizing to us, but remember, it's just there's only one, there's not two. There's only one self, there's only one reality. And you must choose that. We've created an illusion of two. And the way out of the illusion of two is to choose the one, that it really exists. He's saying that the sense of being split into opposites induces these feelings of acute and constant conflict. These are my frantic attempts to reconcile these contradictory aspects of my self-perception. So if you find yourself in a conflict, if there's a kind of desperate energy, frantic attempts to reconcile these contradictory aspects, and you know that the reason behind it is because you have a split mind. And to hear that, we must become aware of it first. So he's bringing it to us, our awareness, and then he's saying, well, now you can choose. Now it's in your awareness, you can choose correctly. Okay. Happy with number one? Number two?
Can I just ask you then, so a friend of mine had the COVID vaccine, and as it was being injected into him, he intuitively felt it was evil going into his bloodstream. So it's difficult to turn that around to imagining that vaccine was love. What would you suggest?
Well, you have to look beyond the vaccine. The vaccine itself wasn't love. The form of it is it's magic. It's an illusion. Evil is just to live backwards. It's part of a confused and confusing thought system. So you can't make the false true. He's not suggesting that. Trying to make the vaccine into something good and pure, because it never will be. It's of the coming from the ego's thought system. So the only way out is to let that go. So this doesn't exist. So I perceive it as evil going into my bloodstream, but then I recognize the correction would be, but I'm not a body, my blood's not real, the vaccine's not real, the whole story around it's not real. In truth, there's only pure formless awareness, a perfect love in my mind, which is unaffected by anything on the body level. That would be the correction.
Yeah.
You can't make that exactly. When you said, well, how would you see the vaccine as good? That's one of these frantic attempts to reconcile the contradictory aspects of your self-perception, to try and make what is evidently false and quote, evil, which just means to live backwards. It's part of an upside down thought system. You can't reconcile that with pure formless awareness and perfect love. You never will. So you simply have to see it for what it is, and then you let it go. You let go of any attachment to it. So, once he's had it, his lesson would then be to undo it in his mind, to undo the evil effect in his mind, and deny that it's real. And if he did that successfully, he would neutralize the effects of it, because it only has an effect because the mind believes in it.
Okay.
You can neutralize it. You can neutralize it with the power of your thought. If your thought is pure enough, undo all negative effects. So, I told you about the story of Ram Dass's guru. I think I mentioned it once, where Ram Dass went to India with a whole lot of LSD tablets, and this guru, what was his name, Papaji or something, was no, it was someone else's guru. He was he said, yeah, what's that? And Ram Dass said, well, this like stuff that makes you, changes your perception. I said, oh, I'll have some of that. And he takes 1,200 milligrams of LSD, which is enough to fry most people's circuits forever, and he's not affected. So it shows you at the highest level of that kind of mastery, the whatever you put into the body, a drug, a chemical, a vaccine, wouldn't necessarily have to have an effect, because the mind is more powerful. But it would require a highly trained mind to do that. So if he took the vaccine in the first place, there would have been a weak-minded decision. He would have been swayed by the ego. Otherwise, why would you take it? So then his lesson would be to correct it. Say, okay, well, it seems to be a mistake, but actually this gives me an opportunity to really look at this whole thought system of the ego and why I bought into this. Why did I think this was going to keep me safe? And look at the whole, the magical beliefs around it, and then let them go. So no, only love is the answer. Only love will keep me safe. The vaccine is just another bit of mindless magic, which he points out very clearly in lesson 76. He even calls it names it and says, you really think some fluid pushed into your veins with a sharper needle will ward off disease and death, and various other illusions. So he's never.
A lot of people took the vaccine because they were pressured by their nearest and dearest, because the nearest and dearest were scared of dying. So they, convinced their other half or family or whatever to have it to keep them safe in their mind.
Yeah, but that's then giving into the ego via the other people's opinions, because it's just using them as a channel. So you have to be quite firm in your belief and understanding. And if you're going to apply the course, there it is. He said very clearly, this is illusion, and he's not saying this is anything you can reconcile with the truth. It's insanity that thinks these things. You call them laws and put them under different names. A long catalogue of rituals that have no use and serve no purpose. These are not laws, but madness. So he's not asking us to try and reconcile the irreconcilable, which is what I love about the course. He's just asking us to see it for what it is, and then let it go out of our own thoughts and emotions, so that it doesn't affect us anymore. That's the answer. If you try and somehow make the evil into good, you never will. How do you justify something that's harmful, that's hurtful, that's based on fear? Interesting. I posted the other day about Circle of Atonement, and both course students, and yet they bought it. And you're going, but how can you read this, lesson 76, and then go do exactly the opposite? But it just shows you the extent of the ego's hold on people's minds, that they will justify their fear in some way and actually ignore a direct instruction from their teacher. You really think a small round pellet or some fluid pushed into your veins with a sharper needle will ward off disease and death. These things are insane. So it's a good lesson, because we have to be very vigilant. We have to realize the extent of the ego's hold in this world. And this is the default thought system, and most people believe it. It's the default thought system, it's the default religion, effectively, of this world. And most people will believe in this paradigm. The external world is real, disease and death are real, and the magic to ward it off is also real. That's going to work. Most people don't even question that thought system, as we saw. The extent of the rollouts of the vaccines showed that most people believe the thought system. And it's a fairly rare, unusual, that someone has the awareness to resist and say, no, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. On any level, on the metaphysical level, Yesha's telling us it's illusion. But even if you're not into the illusion, you don't understand that, you could go, well, just give me evidence that it works. Just ask some basic questions. Show me clinical trials that prove that this thing works. There's none. There's no evidence that it works. So on that basis, but it just shows you the power of belief. People believe it because they want to believe it. That was the interesting thing about the whole COVID. People believe because that's what they want to believe. It's part of a thought system that they are addicted to. And of course, then they'll just buy into it without questioning, because it's part of that whole thought system of the external world being real, and the body being, really the dominant part of reality, and that you need to protect the body, the fear. And you see how deeply entrenched it is in our society. Unfortunately, Yeshua's just telling us it's all a load of bollocks. It's not true. We don't have to believe it. Okay, so happy with that?
Yeah.
And then he goes on, the fact that truth and illusion.
I do the alternative.
Yeah, the alternative is in the first person, so that's nice, I think.
I must accept the fact that truth and illusion cannot be reconciled, no matter how hard I try, what means I use, or where I perceive the problem. Until I fully embrace this truth, I will continue to chase an endless list of unattainable goals in a senseless cycle of wasted time and effort, alternating between hopefulness and doubt, only to realize that each attempt I make is as futile as the one before it, and inevitably ending in failure, as the next one surely will. But the depressing state.
Well, I find his clarity and his openness and his honesty, you might say brutal honesty, very refreshing. He's just telling us straight, this is how it is, this is what it is. Don't pretend that you can fudge this, and that you can compromise and you can find a way to reconcile the irreconcilable, because you can't. And so suddenly you can go, oh my goodness, there's actually a way out here he's giving me. I don't have to keep trying to reconcile the irreconcilable. I can just make a clear-cut decision for the one. And that's my way out. And that's just, oh my goodness, finally someone is telling it like it is, and just telling it to us straight, and not trying to sugarcoat the illusion and try and make sense of what doesn't make sense, and try and find a way to reconcile the eternal with the time, and life with death, because we've been trying that forever. Most dualistic teachings. Most teachings in this world are dualistic, are trying to do that. You're saying, well, no wonder you haven't succeeded, because it's impossible. It's like the impossible, the impossible problem. There's various impossible problems in maths, and you'll never solve it because it's an impossible problem. And of course, you're going to be frustrated. He's saying this is just, you'll be frustrated. You'll be really not very happy if you believe this, and you split your mind in this way. So, truth or illusion, make your choice. You fully embrace the truth. And if you hold one illusion against the truth, then you haven't fully embraced it. Then that illusion represents the entirety of the ego's thought system, which will split your mind. So it's an all or nothing deal, which for most people is a bit radical, but that is the truth. So the clarity and the simplicity of it is what I love. It's so simple. Okay, it's one or the other. I need to choose. And although I continue to live my, illusory human life here for a while, in my mind, I've made the choice, because that's all he's asking us to do, is make the choice, mentally and emotionally, and then allow your thoughts, words, and actions to follow from that. Okay, so any other thoughts on that? You want to explain it in your own words?
But truth and illusion can't be reconciled, and that there's absolutely no point to keep trying to do so. So just give up the senseless cycle. Absolutely futile. It's always going to fail.
And that's going to be depressing. The people go, oh, this is depressing. I don't want this teaching because this is very depressing. But what's more depressing is to believe in the senseless cycle. And you keep believing in what's not going to work. And you get the same results, and then the ego tells you, oh, okay, but that didn't work, but try something else. But it's the same thing you're trying. It's just switches the game and tells you, oh, that's actually something different, but it's not anything different, it's the same. So he's just saying, just stop the game. See all the aspects of the ego's game as the same, and stop playing it. And that's the only way out. And then, happiness, peace, joy can be yours, because you're out of this really depressing, futile, frustrating cycle of endlessly seeking and trying to end the conflict in your mind and never succeeding. Finally, you can actually, find peace that surpasses all understanding. Okay, so happy with that one?
Something just dropped in.
Oh, yeah, you want to share that?
I don't know. I could feel it go in a bit deeper. Just the conflict that we're all suffering. Just that battle between truth and ego. I just felt it in deeper.
And every conflict that you experience in this world is just a symptom of that inner conflict. It's a manifestation or projection of that inner conflict.
It's cool.
Which, once you understand that, okay, well, I have the way to resolve the conflict, because it's in my mind. It's not outside of me. It's in my own mind. So now I take back my power and I can actually do something about it. Christine, welcome.
Hi, Christine.
Hello. I am sorry. Is it just Sally here?
Yeah.
Oh, don't be sorry. Why are you apologizing?
I'm apologizing because I haven't done any of yesterday's work. I haven't caught up today. So I'm kind of joining, having
not a school.
Yeah,
Okay,
but I'm schooling
I'm not a
myself.
teacher who's going to go, oh, naughty student, you didn't do your homework.
I'm schooling myself into disciplining myself so that I stay current. Otherwise, I'll never catch up, and then I'll lose track of everything.
No,
I just
you
wanted
won't.
to tell you a brief story. Sorry, I've interrupted Sally talking about herself, but I had an incident where I went down to the Roots Cafe to have lunch with my daughter. And I decided to walk down there instead of taking my car. And we had an hour of soup and chat. And she went off to her meeting. And I went to pay at the till. And I couldn't find my car keys. And went back to the table, looked for it, got the waiter looking for it, the owner of the place looking for it. Eventually I said, well, let me just go and check in case I left them in my car. And then I look at the parking garage up in the parking space, and my car's not there. Panic. Yes, somebody's stolen my keys and have gone off with my car. Within a second, the penny dropped. Oh, yes, I remember I walked down here.
Yes.
I'm telling you, this memory problem is serious. I'm taking so much stuff to stop it. But when it happens, you've only got yourself to blame, because what a stupid thing to do. So I went back and told them, and I told the waiter, if it ever happens again, for heaven's sake, ask me whether I walked here or drove here.
No.
Because I just can't think. In that panic, you just switch off.
So isn't
So
it
much for the
interesting
Holy
how the
Spirit.
ego hijacks the mind?
Yes, and there's no ways in that moment that you will remember to ask for help.
But you're not in the whole situation. You didn't say, okay, hang on, just pause, breathe, take a moment, ask for guidance. What's happening? No.
Of course, because I'm so convinced that I came in the car and I've dropped my keys somewhere, so I'm looking for my keys. I know I'll find my keys. I know, see, so the ego is so bloody strong that it's not even going to think that it's a memory problem, let alone ask for help.
Well, I think you should read paragraph 2 for us, because it's very appropriate for you.
Is that where you're at the moment?
Oh, we just finished it, but it's the perfect perfect lesson for you, I think.
I must accept the fact that truth and illusion cannot be reconciled, no matter how hard I try, what means I use, or where I perceive the problem. Until I fully embrace this truth, I will continue to chase an endless list of unattainable goals in a senseless cycle of wasted time and effort, alternating between hopefulness and doubt, only to realize that each attempt I make is as futile as the one before it, inevitably ending in failure, as the next one will surely be. But the panic, the panic of getting used to this memory loss problem. I mean, I haven't had a memory loss problem all my life, and suddenly it's hitting me. So the panic is huge.
You actually have had a memory loss problem all your life.
Oh, you mean the loss of the separate self?
Well, you forgot who you were.
Yeah.
That's what, the entire human race, we've forgotten who we are. So it's a fundamental problem. We've all forgotten who we are. And then what you experience there is just a miniature version of the panic and the fear and this insane reality that the ego engenders when you forget your source.
Yeah. Well, even when I started Life Alignment, and in Module 5, he showed us where the point to access your true self is. I remember this sort of clouded, fuzzy, what the hell is he talking about, the true self? That's how detached I was from any of this stuff. And I've actually never used the true self point in a balance. So okay, so I've always had a bad memory.
Yeah,
but now,
it's now becoming, you know, more overt on the level of form, and then you know, but it's a good lesson. You know, look at it and go, okay, well, that was a good lesson, because, you know, I went into the ego and I forgot my source, and I felt panicky, and I felt disconnected, and I felt fearful, and I was very ineffective. I was like, you know, running around chasing my tail and creating a whole drama, and actually it was completely unnecessary. So it's a good lesson.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop here, because as I came onto the property, onto the garden, I see the blind lady fumbling with her stick, trying to find her way to the gate because Victoria was being dropped off. So I helped her to the gate, and on the way back, she was telling me about, God, you know, we are so stupid. We think we know, but how often have you come across a blind person with a white stick? Have you come across blind people with white sticks?
Not that often.
No.
Well, actually talking to her, and I mean, she's been here a year now, and she was telling me how uneducated the populace is on blind people. They don't even recognize when they're walking with a stick that a person can't see. She is so humble that she will stop people and say, I am completely blind. And then she's almost got to educate them into how to handle her. She had an old woman who was looking at a newspaper and fell over a stick at one stage and grazed her knees and everything, because people are just so unaware. And then she was telling me that her daughter, who works at Woolworths, who's about 36, who I thought was blind in one eye, because the one eye seems to be glazed over. She wears glasses. She works in the customer care department in the public arena of Woolworths. She's got 5% vision. And she comes here in the dark to fetch her daughter sometimes at 10 o'clock at night, and walks across the garden to the gate, up the road to her place. I mean, I was totally unaware of that. So it's 2 generations that have this glaucoma and are fumbling around in the light and of sighted people, and sighted people are totally oblivious to what they're struggling with. I mean, I'm a bit shell-shocked at the moment. So,
well, sounds
forgive
like
me.
a good lesson for you. You know, your lesson for the day, or lessons for the day. You recognize that it's all there as, you know, learning, and it's all good.
Well, that's how we learn, isn't it? By meeting somebody that's blind. I used to have a housemate that was blind, and she had to educate me in all the basics. Don't leave a cupboard door open, how she pours hot water, and don't trip over the dog, and all this sort of thing. I didn't know until I lived with somebody that was blind. How would you know if you haven't had that experience?
I mean, yesterday her granddaughter came to the kitchen door and handed me a 100-rand note and said, Ma asks that I must give you this. So I said, why? She doesn't owe me any money. So she went back to Ma 2 or 3 times and kept on coming back with this 100-rand note. And I said, I don't want it. Well, I finally sorted out what it was. She was wanting change. But the granddaughter of 7 didn't ask for the change. So there was no communication. And I should have gone to the blind lady and asked her what it was all about, but I was busy, and only today did I understand what that 100 Rand was all about. Because the child of 7 has never been shown, because she can't see, she hasn't shown her the 50 Rand note, the 200 Rand note, the 20 Rand notes and the 10 Rand note. And that is what change means. The child didn't know what she was asking from me. There's so many miscommunications that are happening. The blind leading the blind. And I'm just as
you see the confusion of the ego. It's a very confused and confusing world. And this is why I say, you can't really reconcile the world of truth and illusion. You must just see them as they are, and they are opposites, and one is true and one's not. And that's the only way out of the problem.
And at face value, you don't know what is true and what is false until you slow down and educate yourself and humble yourself to find out what is true and untrue. Otherwise, you live in this, I know everything, I know it all, and you're the stupid one. My ego is huge.
Well, it's not so huge, because you can come on these calls and you can reflect on it and say, well, this is where I went wrong. People with huge egos don't do that. They just defend the truth. They did defend the illusions. I was always right. Never being able to admit faults, admit they were wrong, apologize. So there's a level of honesty there, and that's a huge asset. You have to be honest in this journey to yourself. If you've made a mistake, you don't blame yourself. You don't feel guilty. You go, okay, it was just a mistake, but I can see clearly it was an error. Because I can see it was an error, I can correct it. Next time I don't have to make that error. Without any blame, judgment, beating yourself up. Okay, just made a little mistake.
Yes, and
that's okay. As long as I see it, I recognize it clearly, then I've learned from it. With the ego's strategy is to make us never learn from mistakes. So then we just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and we never get it. And as he says here, that's just pointless, futile, wasted time and effort, trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and it's just never going to work. And finally, we have a teacher and a teaching that's telling it to us straight. He's going, well, look, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to tell it to you like it is. So there's no sugarcoating of illusions and trying to somehow fudge the dream. It's this or it's that. Make your choice. And so you got to say, well, thank you. Thank you for being so honest. That someone is finally willing to tell me the absolute truth, as hard as it is to hear for my ego. The truth will liberate me, because there's no more trying to reconcile the irreconcilable, trying to find a solution where there is none. Okay, so you want to carry on? Let's read number 3, problems that have no meaning, cannot be resolved. I'm going to read that number 3 for us in the alternative. There's not terribly much that's going to change here, so it's the last couple of lines.
The last couple of lines, or start from the top?
And by the way, I've got a message. I don't know if did Susie contact you?
I read her message in the Telegram, yes.
Did she private message you?
I can't. Yes, she did.
Okay.
Yes, she private me
She
about the
had a
book.
message to give you.
About the book.
Yeah, she just said, yesterday I did a session with it. You've got such strength and wisdom, and you've got so much to give, and there's beauty in you, and that she thinks you should write, some kind of book for future generations. So just thought I'd pass that on.
I will give it some thought. Yes. I've been told that I write well and express myself well in writing. And maybe I should develop it and try and do something constructive to offer back.
Yeah, and what you said, that's the truth of you. The illusion of losing your memory and getting panic stricken, that's not who you are, really. That was just an ego hijack attempt. You see that? It's just the ego fighting back, saying, "Oh, okay, you think you're going to be enlightened here? Okay, well, let's just play a game with you now. Let's make you lose your memory, and then you're going to lose your keys, then you're going to panic. You're going to spin out. You're going to forget the truth, and that's all it's trying to get you to do. But you can always remember the truth. You can reflect on it and say, oh, actually."
Yeah, when I calm down. That's
so
why.
So next time, what you need to do is have a strategy in place. Next time you find yourself freaking out about something, let a voice come in, have the awareness, say, okay, just stop, pause, breathe. Stop, pause, and breathe.
I'll have to write that on my hand.
Well, just breathe. Yeah, just breathe. Okay, just because if you just breathe, it does slow you down. It slows the monkey mind down. It creates some space in the breath with the breath.
You've got a memory, Jono. You don't understand what it means to not remember, and your whole brain clouds over. You stop breathing when you're panicking. There's no ways I'm ever going to remember to breathe when I'm in that state.
Okay, we'll write it on a card or something.
Yeah.
Or
what I found interesting.
Send a message to someone. Send a message to me or Sally or the group and say, "Help! I'm having a panic attack.
We'll
Help!
Say, breathe.
What do I do?" Say, breathe. Put on a breath break and just sit and breathe.
What I find really interesting, Christine, is that you immediately said this memory problem, but I don't think I've got any friends that have ever not done what you've done, walk somewhere and then panic they've lost the car. I remember doing it in the 20s. I think I can name loads and loads of people that have done it as well. So, I don't think in my 20s I'd have jumped to the conclusion I've got a memory problem. So, it's just when we carry that belief we've got a memory problem, isn't it, that adds to it.
Yes, maybe it's more a panic attack that brings on that feeling. Yeah,
you get into an unproductive state, and then that you go insane. The ego puts you into a state in which you don't see clearly. You make mistakes, everything's very discombobulated, and you go like, well, why? But that's what it tries to do, and that is a miniature version of the chaos in our minds when we first made that fatal decision to separate.
Yes.
So imagine that what you experienced times 1,000, amplified 1,000 times. Can you imagine the intensity of that energy that could actually create the entire manifest universe?
Yeah.
That was the energy behind the so-called Big Bang.
Yeah, in fact,
it's still in our mind.
Even the whole global COVID thing is an insanity, but you can see what energy it generates when something with such intense emotion is a worldwide phenomenon. And how, I mean, back then when we did that thing, the explosion of the universe must have been massive. So COVID was minor in comparison, but it does describe what insanity is and the power, the destructive power that it has.
So, Yeshua's trying to school us in this and say, well, just look, it only has the power if you're unaware of it. If you think it's reality and you think this is all there is, then it hijacks you, it takes you over, and you're consumed by these thoughts and emotions, which are very unpleasant, destructive. These are thoughts of death, disaster, chaos. And fortunately, this teaching is designed to bring us into an awareness of all that, so we don't have to buy into it. So there's freedom in that. Freedom comes from within me, and if you make a mistake and the ego comes in and it hijacks you, just recognize what's happened. Okay, I see. In hindsight, I see, and next time I need to be more vigilant. Put in place a strategy, so next time it may happen, you have a strategy to deal with it.
Basically,
so
to calm
some way bringing yourself back. It's like, okay, well, breathe, have something written down, or okay, when in doubt, when I'm panicking, message Jono or message Sally, or just something, some action that's like will allow you to hold on to sanity in that moment. Because that becomes the anchor to the truth. You can find your way back.
Yeah.
So it's a good lesson. It just shows you, that the ego is still there, and it has the power to hijack you if you allow it.
If I allow it, yes, I must remember that. It's not me.
No, that it's not you. So a strategy to deal with it is essential in the moment when you feel that panic arising. It's like, okay, just calm yourself, quiet, stillness. That's the antidote. Don't do anything. Just get yourself into your right mind. You sit quietly, get into your right mind. And in your right mind, if you'd been able to do that, it would have come to you that, oh, I walked here, I remember. Okay, no, no drama there. So your key, the key learning is get yourself into the right state. That's the key, always. The first priority. If you're spinning out and the ego's done a hijack on you, correct it, get yourself into the right state of mind before you do anything. Because any action you take in that inturbulated state is going to be a dysfunctional one. It's going to actually make it worse.
Yeah.
So a very good lesson.
It helps. It all helps. And I'm sure it helps other people. And these are the sort of examples that I must remember to write down, because there will be many people that relate to it and identify strongly with the craziness, the madness. And when you can see it in another, you can quietly look at yourself and undo it and choose to do it another way.
Yeah, exactly. So, writing a book, it's very down to earth. You say, well, this is, maybe it's a book on consciously coping with memory loss or dementia or something. Saying, well, actually, how can you apply spiritual principles to this?
Yes, I
and
don't think.
and manage your own condition, so that you're no longer just, oh well, the inevitability of it, once it starts, this is it, you're just going to go gaga, and it's just a matter of time. That sort of seems to be the general feeling of the medical industry, like, well, there's not much we can do. But I would disagree. I think there's a lot you can do, because it's all mind. It's all in the mind. So you can train your mind, and you can reverse it, because the Holy Spirit has the power to undo all dysfunctions. So maybe that becomes your mission. Okay, we'll reverse it, turn it around, and in 10 years be sharper than you were when you were 30. And that is possible. That is possible.
It is possible, yes.
It's possible.
I just wanted to mention,
like Lucille, and people who've done had experiences with mental illness, dementia, and you write a really insightful work on it that gives people another way. I think that would be a very, very helpful book worldwide. I think it's when you're going, oh, well, I'm the only one who's got a problem. No, it's very common. Mental
yes,
illness is on the rise.
and this is a pioneering work at this time, where alternative healing hasn't been around for very long. And the more we publicize success stories, the more people will be open to explore it. And there needs to be literature on it. You're right. So thanks to Susie.
Examples. Yeah. Examples. So, and some people have to do it. They've got to write the books or be the teachers of the ideas. So if not you, then who? I think that would be a very worthy purpose to embark on. Ask the Holy Spirit for guidance, but if you write well, you've got time, why not?
Yeah.
Write a book. And I'll give you access to a tool that's phenomenal. It'll help you enormously. It's called ChatGPT. It can write. It's AI. It can help you write stuff. So you can give it inputs, and then it can actually write for you. It can speed it up dramatically. So you still have to kind of guide it, but it can, you could say, give me an analysis of, the current state of dementia and how it's treated, and it'll produce something, so that you can take that and use it in a book. Amazing.
Okay. So it does all the dog work for you, and you can just cream the.
Yeah, I mean, it can write. I asked it a question, which quite a. You'd have to have quite a lot of insight into both A Course in Miracles and Buddhism. I said, compare the concept of idle wishes and grievances in A Course in Miracles with that of craving and aversion in Buddhist philosophy. Analyze the two, compare them, and summarize that in 1,000 words or something. And it produced a really, a nice piece that I could have taken and said, okay, I can copy and paste that and put it into a blog post or my email or whatever. So it's pretty good. It's like a copywriting service. And there's no reason why I couldn't, and it's not, because you've inputted it. There's no copyright issue. It's inputted, it's produced it based on your request. So you can use whatever it produces, because it's unique to your chat with it. So kind of opens up. I mean, you could write a book very quickly and easily with that kind of tool. You've just got to input it correctly. So it's all doable. And there's, a whole new lease of life maybe for you in that. Teaching that, speaking that. And it's very necessary. I think there's a huge need for it in society. So
thank you.
That's what speaks to you, and just go with it. Trust the guidance. Do something about it in the next 24 hours. So make a call, do some research, do something to like take the next step.
I promise I will.
Okay. You don't have to promise me, just promise yourself. All right, so do you want to read number 3 for us?
I'm getting very hot here in the sun. Starting with problems.
Yeah, problems that have no meaning.
Problems that have no meaning cannot be resolved. Let me just get out the sun.
So by the way, just to show you, this was AI. I stuck in, I'd done some translation, but not in first person. So I said, here it is, translate that, put that into the first person and keep the numbering, and it did it. So then I just copy and paste it and stick it in. And then it actually it rewrote some of the stuff. Like, oh, okay, it's quite intelligent. It rewrote it in a more kind of accessible tone. So, yeah, this is AI.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
Okay, let me try and read it. The problems that have no meaning cannot be resolved within the framework I have set. As I find myself in conflict with two selves, I realize that good and evil have no meeting place within me. The self I made can never be my true self, and I cannot split myself in two and still remain as what I am and must forever be.
Yeah, so what's he saying there?
Yeah, it's the split between good and evil can't exist in the same place. So if I don't relate to my true self and keep on with this conflict of the split, I will forever be in that confusion. I have to make a decision.
Problems that have no meaning cannot be resolved within the framework I've set. Very similar to. Sorry, let me just decline that. I can't take his call right now. So problems that have no meaning can't be resolved within the framework I've set. Is very similar to Einstein's saying of significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. It's really saying the same thing, isn't it? Within the framework at the level that they were created.
Yes, you've got to get out of that.
Well, you've got to transcend. You go above the. So, good example today. The problem that you created today could not be resolved within the framework you'd set.
Yeah.
I've lost my keys, panic, drama. You can't resolve it at that level. The resolution comes from a higher level of awareness. Oh, actually, the truth is that I walked here. It's another thought system, isn't it? You've gone above the battleground of the confusion and the fear, gone into clarity and awareness, and there you can solve the problem.
Yes, you almost got to get into another state so that you can observe.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then,
so do you see why the first priority is to get yourself into the right state of mind? If you're
Yes.
spinning out and you notice there's enough awareness to go, okay, I can feel I'm freaking out now. It's ego's hijacking me. Okay, so first priority, go back within, breathe, connect with my inner self, ask for guidance, use the lesson for the day to bring myself back into a calm, centered state. Because from that calm, centered state, then I will perceive the situation differently, and the resolution can come from that higher awareness, that calm perception. But within the framework, I just spin around. I'm wasting my time. I'm just going to spin around. If you hadn't had a shift, you could still be there looking for your keys and freaking out, and because you didn't allow something else to come in. So
Yes.
it's a very good lesson. Very good lesson, and perfect lesson that you've got here, just to help you to.
Yeah, and I think I'm in charge of my life. The Holy Spirit made me connect with you just when you were reading those chapters.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so let's read some more.
Yeah. I think you're at number 4.
No, we were on the previous paragraph.
No, we were.
Okay, I can see.
You read half of that.
It
You
is
read up to there.
impossible. All right. It is impossible for a mind and body to coexist. I will not attempt to reconcile these two apparent aspects of myself, as acknowledging one denies the reality of the other. If I identify myself as physical, my mind is absent from my self-concept, since it has no real place within me. On the other hand, if I recognize myself as pure formless awareness, then the body becomes meaningless in my reality.
Yeah. So this is a very important philosophical distinction that he's making it. Most systems of thought believe in the mind, the body, the spirit. We've heard mind, body, spirit. It's some kind of, and it's all part of reality. And Yeshua is telling us very clearly that you cannot reconcile mind and body. These are opposite. They are part of two different thought systems, two different realities. And if you make the one real, then the other one disappears. So what the ego has done is it's tried to convince us that the body is real. And this is the scientific materialist paradigm. So only the body is real, only the external world of form, what you can see, feel, measure, touch, taste, and perceive with the body's eyes and senses is real. And that is still the dominant paradigm on the planet. Most people believe that unconsciously. So it's a complete inversion of the truth, which is that only the interior is real, only mind is real, and the body doesn't really exist. So he's asking us to take our minds from this state of attachment into a body that doesn't really exist, believing that we're a body, and let that go and return our mind back to this awareness that we are only mind and our bodies don't really exist. So it's a complete inversion of the current belief system, which is why it's challenging to do, because you go up against the world's thought system all the time, and anyone who's rooted in this believes you're crazy.
Of course.
Because they believe that they're sane. They believe that, believing in the reality of a body is sanity. and believing in this is slightly or completely insane. At the extreme of the paradigm of scientific materialism, they actually deny the existence of a mind. The left-hand interior quadrants don't exist in that conception of reality. And so what better way of making sure you can never change your mind, but by denying that you have a mind? See the ego strategy there. I don't even have a mind, I'm a body. And my thoughts are a product of my brain and my biochemistry. So I don't really have a mind that I can control. My thoughts just kind of happen as a product of the brain and the body. And so I'm a victim. What it makes you is a victim of the world, because you have no control. I'm a victim of my body. My body's in charge. My brain's in charge. My genes are in charge. This is the paradigm, and it's still the dominant paradigm in the world and in the medical industry. It's what allopathic medicine is largely based on, this false paradigm. Well, no wonder it doesn't work, and it is particularly disastrous when you're talking about the mind. The mind comes into play. It's very, very bad at dealing with issues of mind and the interior quadrants, because it doesn't even acknowledge those realities. The psychiatry is disastrous because they don't acknowledge that this is primary. They still think that somehow thoughts are a product of the brain. So therefore we treat it by changing the chemistry in the brain. That's the paradigm. I mean, actually our mind, our awareness is behind our thoughts and emotions, and we can change that if we choose to. We don't need drugs to change it. We can change our mind at any point. Yeah, it's going to take some effort. It's going to take time. It's going to take mind training, all of that. But then, being on the drugs and whatever programs they prescribe also takes time, money, and effort. And the deleterious effects of those drugs are horrendous. So we need another system, you see, and it's based on another philosophy. And that's why thought leaders are important, because you've got to teach people that this paradigm on which the entire system is based is false. It needs to be relooked at, and the system needs to be redesigned from the correct paradigm, which is that only mind is real and the body is unreal. Then you've got a fundamental basis of truth, which will lead to miraculous effects. So there's a need there. You feel the call, and check out the integral model, because you run it through the integral model, and it gives you these kinds of insights. All right, so let's go back to okay. So essentially, what he's saying there is the mind and body can't both be real. It's one or the other. So a lot of people will struggle with, and they'll think that's crazy and it's too radical, but the logic of it is irrefutable. It's like, well, if my body is real, then I've denied my mind. I've literally gone out of my mind into a body, and my identification is now with my body. But if I'm pure formless awareness, the body is meaningless, because pure formless awareness knows no form. There's no body in pure formless awareness. This is why we use the term pure formless awareness. It's obvious. Well, how can you have a body, anything in form, if it's pure formless awareness? There's no form in it, no bodies. Okay. So simple, very simple teaching, but very deep and very profound, nevertheless.
Okay.
Sally, read number 4 for us.
As pure formless awareness, I utilize the mind as a means to express my true self. The mind that serves pure formless awareness is at peace and filled with joy. Its power emanates from pure formless awareness, and it joyfully fulfills its function here. However, the mind can also perceive itself divorced from pure formless awareness and mistakenly identify itself with a body without fulfilling its function. It lacks peace, and the happiness becomes foreign to its thoughts.
Right. So the only real translation there is spirit. Spirit becomes pure formless awareness. The spirit is this awareness, is pure formless above the world. So what is he? What's he saying here? In summary of paragraph 4.
You can utilize the mind to express the true self as peace and joy. And that's our function here. If we perceive ourselves as divorced from it and as a body, then we won't be fulfilling our function and we won't be in contact with peace and happiness.
Yeah, I'll explain. Very simple. It's a very simple teaching. It's not complicated, but it does require us to make a clear choice between spirit, the domain of pure formless awareness, and the body, which is form. So form versus the formless. And he's just saying you can't reconcile this. They contradict each other. Okay. Any other thoughts on that, or can we move on?
No, it's fine, move on.
Number 5, Christine. If you read it in the original and then the alternative.
Yet mind apart from spirit cannot think. Yet mind apart from pure formless awareness is incapable of thinking. It is denied its source of strength and sees itself as helpless, limited and weak. It is denied its source of strength and perceives itself as helpless, limited and weak. Disassociated from its function now, it thinks it is alone and separate, attacked by armies, massed against itself, and hiding in the body's frail support. That's exactly how I feel. Disconnected from its true function, it believes itself to be alone and separate, under attack from external forces and relying on the frail support of the body.
You see, this is what happens as we age. So if you identify with the body, it's a disaster, isn't it? Because you're like, well, I'm in the body, my body's failing. It engenders the feelings of fear and aloneness and separation, feeling attacked. And the mind then gets hijacked by the ego, because it's very prone to it being identified with the body. But if you don't identify with the body, you're only mind. All of that can be avoided, and the spirit can shine through, irrespective of your age. You can see the light shining through. People who are awakened in their latter years. Look at Byron Katie, she's 80. Just a light, beautiful presence shining through her. Eckhart Tolle is his mid-70s. Doesn't look like it. Just there's a light shining through, a timeless light. He looks like he's 50. He's 50 still. So the spirit will do it.
Can I describe what's just happened?
What?
I'm sitting up here in the sun in front of this big window that's facing onto the driveway. And we were going to take the dogs for a walk, and Steve was trying to phone me, and I cut the call. And then I see him walking up the driveway here. So I switched off mute and video, and I go downstairs, and he's at the front gate, the front door, saying, if you can't come now, I'll go to Pick and Pay and I'll come back. So I said, yes, it's all about me and my madness. And he looks at me with his big eyes, and then he turns around and he says, all right, I'll come back just now. And then he says, I still can't walk properly. And he hobbles to the front door and he goes out, and I think, God, he's bloody old and he wants to go walking with me. But as he came in, he said, you looked so beautiful. You looked exquisite up there. And now you're saying exactly that if the spirit shines through, the decrepit old body doesn't seem to be relevant, because it's one soul looking at another soul through a window where the sun is shining madly on it. I'm sure he can't actually see through the window, but somehow he saw this exquisiteness of me looking at my phone, trying to concentrate on what Sally's reading and having to attend to him and carry on with reading the next paragraph. So I'll stick around until the end of this paragraph, and then I think I must fade.
Okay.
Okay, so now, if attempts to reconcile the unlike with the like, as this is what it believes its purpose is. It attempts to reconcile the unlike with the like, as this is what it believes that its purpose is. The mind attempts to reconcile the unlike with the like.
So we try and make somehow the body part of our reality. And there's all kinds of systems, thought systems, philosophies, teachings that try and do that. Most teachings do that. Oh, the mind and the body are both real. Mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and soul.
And this
body, mind, balance.
And
all these ideas.
And this teaching chooses to separate it so that you realize that pure formless awareness is what makes the mind so powerful. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just pure formless awareness. It means there's no form. So when you change the language and you make God or spirit pure formless awareness, it makes it very explicit what it is, doesn't it?
That is what is guiding you.
Pure formless awareness. There's no form. So you can't reconcile form and formless.
Yes.
They are opposites.
Yeah.
They contradict each other. Pure formless awareness means that there cannot be form. There cannot be a body. There cannot be any form in that awareness. Otherwise, it wouldn't be pure formless awareness. And he's saying you can't fudge it. You can't reconcile form and the formless. It's not possible. As hard as you try, no matter where you look for the answer within that thought system, you will be frustrated because there is no answer there. You're maintaining the split in your mind.
So it's a letting go of the form.
Yeah.
And
Which means
trusting.
you must let go of your identity as a body, the belief that you're a body, and along with that, the belief you can be hurt in the body, that you can suffer pain, sickness, old age, death. All of that must be denied because it's not true. It's part of a body identification. It keeps you away from pure formless awareness. Okay, so what's he saying? What's he saying there?
Exactly what you've said.
No, I want you to say.
Basically, let go of the body and focus on the direction coming from spirit, because the spirit resides within you, and that is what is shining and giving you purpose to your being here. But we've been conditioned to keep the body going, to keep the spirit alive. But maybe one doesn't even need the body, or will the body just cooperate until you don't need it anymore?
Yeah. As the body will be there as a useful servant of the spirit until its use is done.
Yeah.
And then you would die because the body would just be laid aside. But you're not really dying. You're just going back into what you always have been, pure formless awareness, and letting go of the delusion once and for all. So there is no death, just a letting go of an illusion.
So Steve is right.
So
Steve is right when he says he just wants to go to sleep and never wake up. Because he's identified with some heaven on the other side that he wants to go into. And he sees the best way is to just go to sleep and not wake up.
Yeah, free himself from the body that is so problematic now, because his body is not really functioning that well anymore. So there's a freedom in release from that. The mind's like, oh, I'm free, free at last. I'm in pure formless awareness again. No restrictions. Feel so liberating and blissful by comparison. And in our insane belief that life is somehow in the body, we then get sad when someone does that. And we go, oh, that's terrible, they died. No, they just let go of a delusion and they're now free. So why would you be sad?
Yeah.
To celebrate. The Irish have the right idea. It's awake, celebrate. Celebrate his life here and his release. Don't mourn the death of his body, which was a prison for his mind. Why would you mourn that? Especially as it gets increasingly old and decrepit and dysfunctional. Like why would you mourn? It's like a car being taken to the scrapyard. I mean, it's like, well, it's had its useful life. Let it go, be scrapped, recycled, and something else can use it. But it's had its useful life. So in the same way, the body has its useful life, but the spirit is eternal. And that spirit will keep your body young and functional and able to do what's required for as long as the spirit needs it.
To be of some use here on planet Earth for humanity.
Yeah. And that's the best way to keep yourself, young and fit and vital and active. Have an inspired purpose, because then the spirit will use the body accordingly.
Yes. Okay.
And the aging and the decay that comes from the ego. See, it's the thought systems. Oh, I'm getting old now, and you believe it, and then you identify with the form, and you feel weak and frail, and then the ego says, well, look to support for the body. Look to the world of form to try and manage this condition. So then we have all kinds of magic to try and help, whether it's pills or it's all the mechanical devices we've invented, all that stuff. When actually the spirit can direct it all perfectly, and you can live a very healthy, functional, productive life until time to let go. And then maybe you just drop the body. So, okay,
Yeah.
I don't need to be sick. I don't need to be ill. I could just, right, it's my time. I'm going.
That's,
A lot of the masters do that. They know when they're going. They just go, okay, it's my time. So
yes.
bye-bye then.
That's all
And
to
they
do with
know.
conscious dying. Conscious dying.
Yeah. They know, okay, it's time to let go of the body. And there's no drama. It's just normal, natural. It's the most natural thing you can do because pure formless awareness is our natural state. Far more
Okay.
natural than birth, because birth's the opposite. Birth's inserting yourself into the matrix. Death is the letting go of it.
So that third sentence is the most potent in everything you've just said. Disconnected from its true function, it believes itself to be alone and separate, under attack from external forces and relying on the frail support of the body. The mind
Resonate.
disconnected.
And then it looks to the body for support, but that's insane because the body is a projection of the ego mind. So the body is weak and frail, and then you look to it for some kind of answer, and that doesn't make any sense.
You've got to rise above it, observe the frailty of the body, and connect with the guidance from pure formless awareness and perfect love, and live in that domain.
Yeah, exactly. And then the body will serve, the body will serve its purpose, and because it's now under the guidance of the spirit, and it can be very useful in the service of the spirit, because it can carry you around, you can speak, you can act through it, but it's all now being dedicated to the spirit and to the purpose of the at-one-ment. And then you will have all the power and the health that you need to fulfill your purpose. So that, find an inspired purpose and really go for it. And that's the best way of keeping yourself, your body and your mind healthy, active, vital, inspired, because it's the life essence that's flowing through you that will do that for it.
And it will be in flow, it will be done with ease, because you will be getting all that support from pure form of awareness.
It's ease and grace, and this becomes your lesson, in miracle mindedness, in flow. This is the way you learn that you are that pure formless awareness and nothing else. So it's hopefully quite inspiring for you. So, well, that's what lies ahead if you just allow yourself to be used. And this could be the next 10 years. Could be the best 10 years of your life.
Yeah. It feels very, very exciting, and enthusiasm can be easily mastered when you have a purpose and you feel supported and free.
Yeah. So it's all there for you. You've got all the tools, you've got the teaching, you've got the guidance. Just allow it to come through you. Don't block it. Your challenge is just not to block it. Oh no, I can't do that. Or, I'm too old, or why me? Someone else will do it, or those kinds of thoughts.
And just quietly get on with your own life and your own responsibilities and your own healing, and not waste energy on outside. outer, others.
So it's inside out. You're still interacting in the external world, but instead of this external world driving your thoughts and emotions, it's the other way around. Now the spirit is inspiring, these really high frequency thoughts, emotions, states of mind, and then that is what extends into the external world and starts to manifest a different kind of reality on a higher level. So these contour lines are useful because when you're at a high level, let's say a soul level or a spirit level, then the reality that manifests from that must be at the same level because it's a contour line. And if you're at a slightly lower level, you can bump yourself up. The best way of manifesting extraordinary things externally is bump yourself up a couple of levels in your awareness. So then you've just expanded your awareness, and now the reality externally must confirm that. Okay?
Okay. Tall order, but...
So happy with number 5?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Yay!
Yay.
All right. So number 6, Sally.
I will no longer waste time on this futile endeavor. Who can resolve the senseless conflicts presented by a dream? What would be a resolution truly mean? What would the resolution truly mean? What purpose would it serve? What is it even for? Awakening cannot make illusions real or solve a problem that does not actually exist. Perhaps there is a lingering hope that it could. But would I truly want perfect love's plan for the release of its dear extension to bring me pain and fail to set me free?
Yeah, any thoughts on that? What's he saying there?
Well, obviously stop doing what we've always done that doesn't work. Yeah, just asking the questions, what did it mean? It's not going to make the illusions real. It's not going to solve a problem that never existed in the first place. Letting go of any hope that it would. Allow perfect love to free us. We are perfect love, so we are free already.
Awakening cannot make illusions real. So the ego's hope is that you can somehow go to enlightenment and take it with you. Somehow make its illusions real. That's why it's eagerly always trying to hijack whatever path you take. And those most spiritual paths, the ego can go along. It's only at the highest, the highest truth, which this course is coming from, that you go, no, that's just not possible. Truth and illusion are incompatible. I must let it go. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? Pretty simple stuff, but we need to really contemplate it because it's so profound. It's asking us to do is totally game changing, totally life changing if you actually apply it. Totally freeing. This clarity is what brings the freedom. All right, number 7. 15, you still with us? Do you want to read number 7? In the original and then the alternative? Quite a bit
Okay,
to
I must just connect to a battery thing. Myself retains its thoughts, and they remain within my awareness and in the pure, formless awareness of perfect love. The remembrance of oneness.
Yeah, you're going to read it in the original and then the alternative. There's quite a bit to translate.
The Holy Spirit holds salvation in your mind and offers it the way to peace. The remembrance of oneness holds freedom in my mind and presents the path to peace. Salvation is a thought you share with God because his voice accepted it for you and answered in your name that it was done. Awakening to freedom is a thought I share with the pure formless awareness of perfect love because its voice accepted it on my behalf and responded in my name that it was accomplished.
So that was accomplished.
Therefore, or thus is salvation kept among the thoughts yourself holds dear and cherishes for you. Therefore, awakening is preserved among the thoughts that myself holds dear and cherishes for me.
Okay, so what's he's saying here in summary?
I think that second sentence is pertinent. The remembrance of oneness holds freedom in my mind and presents the path to peace.
Yeah.
Because its voice accepted it on my behalf and responded in my name, so that it was accomplished. It's kind of a done deal, but that's the most important thing.
Hmm.
The remembrance of oneness holds freedom in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that one has to remember. I mean, it just keeps saying the same thing in a different way because it complicates it with all the other sentences. I don't understand. Awakening to freedom is a thought I share with pure formless awareness of perfect love because its voice accepted it on my behalf and responded in my name so that it was accomplished. It just complicates it for me. What is that sentence saying?
Well, have a go. What do you think? I'm going to break it down. Awakening to freedom is a thought I share with pure formless awareness of perfect love. Yeah? So that's pretty simple. It's a thought. When I awaken, it's a thought that I think in my mind that I share with pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's coming
Because
from
its
this thought.
voice, is that the voice of awakening to freedom?
Oh, the voice
Accepted
of the
it.
capital voice is always the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, a remembrance of
Perfect
oneness.
love.
That is this voice in our mind. that does know and can accept on your behalf. Responded in my name, so it was accomplished. Also in your name that it was done. So does that make a bit more sense now? Thought voice accepted it on my behalf. So he's talking about listening to the guidance. There in the potential. There's this potential for one-ment in everyone, but we must start listening to the guidance. So that listening brings love into our minds and peace and joy, happiness, freedom, everything we truly want is there.
So it's already been accomplished, and all I have to do is listen.
Yeah, very much.
Preserved.
And you allow the unfolding. It's got to play out in time. So it's a done deal. Look at the timeline. Let's say, let's have a little squiz of this so we see it visually. Your enlightenment is a done deal sometime in the future, but there is no future. There's only ever now. So you access the now, right now, and there's some kind of a trauma happening maybe in your life or something that hooks you in. You transcend that and you go back into the level of the transcendent level of now, which is accessible always. So then it is a done deal because the now, it's still now when you become perfectly enlightened. So you go up from the level of linear time, and in this domain, everything's one. There is no time. It's eternal because time collapses. So then it is perfectly accomplished. You go into this. You go into this, and then you start experiencing it. And then by your experience, yeah, it's a done deal.
Okay, realize
and
that.
what happens on the timeline is not relevant because there is only now and there is only the eternal. And as you start to do that more and more, you collapse the need for time. You actually collapse intervals of time that you needed to have before to have experiences, which then play out the ego's dream. So you don't need those experiences of trauma, pain, suffering, sickness, and death anymore. You just collapse it and you go back into source. And so the miracle is the sole factor you have at your disposal for changing time, as he says at some point in the text. And actually control time this way by going above time. So that's why the now is so important, because in the now everything is eternal. It's eternally there. It's never changed, and your awakening is a done deal in the now because it's already there. When you're in the now and you're rooted in that, and there's no other awareness, then that's all there is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does make sense.
Oh, just another level of thinking, which has its own laws, its own rules, its own reality compared with this one, and that's always accessible to you. Saying in every problem, in every situation, in every trial and tribulation, this is always available and accessible to you if you choose it.
Yeah, it's quite a complex concept to
Oh, no,
take
it's
on.
very simple. It's so simple. It's always there. Never gone away. No matter what's happening on the timeline, it's always there. You just you're not aware of it.
To go there.
You're not aware of it. So now you've got to cultivate that awareness, and you cultivate that awareness by letting go of your ego's psychological and emotional attachments to your dream. So that's
Yes.
the red arrows and the notches. So what you had this morning or the lunchtime was a little trauma, right? And then the ego wants you to focus on that and pull you down onto that timeline and divorce you, disconnect you from your source by focusing all your attention on the timeline. It feels very heavy and dark and confusing. And because if you're
Yes.
locked into the timeline and that's all you know, then you are believing in separation, you're believing in the ego's thought system, and you will remain in this world. You can't escape the world.
Yes. And then the moment I rose up above the problem and had that flash of insight and I remembered, then it all just disappeared in an instant.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
resolved.
Good demonstration, because you went into this. It's the level of truth, a higher level of awareness, and the problem on the level of form dissolves because you've seen that it's really not a problem.
Yes.
So it's a really, really good lesson for you. You
Yeah.
needed to have the trauma in order to get the lesson. So it's all perfect in its imperfection.
And then you're not grappling with time and the heaviness of what's going to happen in the future, because it just doesn't matter anymore.
No, it's only now. It's moment by moment. I'm in the now. That moment by moment now state is the flow with life. And that's very rewarding in itself. It's rich and rewarding in itself. It's not about the outcome, the future result. In the moment, I'm enjoying my now. I'm enjoying just being in every moment. And then something else comes in and it's another moment. I enjoy that too. So, I flow through my life rooted in the now, which is the only sane place to be, because it only ever is now. There's no past, and there's no future.
Yeah.
Mental conceptions.
Yeah, I get it.
Good. So no problem. You're enlightened now. Well, you are. Well, you are. You are. Because that awareness is there. It's in you right now, and you're going, okay, I get it. Well, yes. The key is just don't forget. Don't allow the ego to come in. And the events and circumstances of this world are purely designed to distract you from this. Do you understand that? There's no other purpose to them.
Yes.
It's a massive distraction to root your mental and emotional energy onto a timeline, make time real. That makes your separate self real. It makes your story real. And all of that covers over this awareness. And that's all the ego is trying to do all the time, just to perpetuate this false sense of being a separate self. And that's why the world was created. Just to do that. Well, when you realize that, there's no other purpose to it than just to perpetuate the illusion of separation. Then why would you want to continue? It has no real meaning, does it? Okay, so well put. I think did you summarize that? I think you did.
Yes.
Did you give a summary of number 7? Okay, excellent. So number 8.
I've got to go now, but what sunk in a bit deeper while you were just talking was that now is pure formless awareness, and anything out of now is an illusion. That is my simple version to remember. And then you said divorced from source. I thought that was a very good phrase.
Divorced from source.
Yeah, these little catchphrases are easy to remember for me, and then I'll hold them for the rest of the day. Anyway, I go.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you still writing them down, Sally?
I've written those 2 down, but I'm not taking notes generally.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Just trusting the wisdom's there. It's in you. Yeah, so I'll see you Sunday maybe. Next one Sunday, probably afternoon. I'm gonna be traveling and stuff, but yeah, I'm expecting to do an afternoon session. So I will communicate via the group
Okay.
Sunday morning. All
Lovely.
right.
All right. See you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
darling.
Bye, Christine.
Bye-bye.
Namaste. Okay. Bye.
Okay.
All right.
It's just me with
So,
paragraph 8.
yeah. Today I will try to find this thought.
Let me just see how my battery's only on 26, so I'll have to stay linked up to the battery.
Mm-hmm.
I will try to find this thought, whose presence in my mind is guaranteed by the one that speaks to me from my one self. During my hourly 5-minute practice, I will search for it within my mind. Awakening emerges from this one self through the remembrance of oneness, which serves as the bridge between my awareness and itself. Remembrance of oneness, which serves as the bridge between my awareness and itself.
Mm-hmm. So we look at this diagram, maybe we'll make it a bit clearer. Not that one. Only Trinity one. So this self is the bridge between our mind or awareness that in its normal state is very distracted by the illusions of time and space, constantly focusing on form. And we need a bridge. We need some intermediary state between that very distracted dualistic state where this split mind is prevalent and perfect oneness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is the top level. This is level 1, we call it. This is level 2, and this is an intermediate level, like a stepping stone between these realities. So the Christ, or the true self, is the placeholder for the spirit, the pure formless awareness of perfect love, that it can now come in to that self and it can perceive and then inspire action accordingly. And so we can actually be in the world, but not of the world. We're not, our thought system is not of the world, but we're in the world, and we can actually be highly effective in the world because our thoughts and our words and our actions are being inspired by the ultimate intelligence. We become the agents of that intelligence in this world. And it's just channeling through us into this world to change things, manifest different people, things, places, events, circumstances, situations, traumas, successes, and failures. All of that can be changed by this spirit. So does that make sense now, what he's saying?
Yes, yes, it does.
Bridge. Oh.
Yeah.
And so now you understand, do you understand the Holy Trinity now, which most Christians, including theologians through the ages, don't really understand. They don't get what it's actually about.
Yes.
They're trying to find, what they fail to see is that it's a learning device, not ultimate reality. A learning device for the mind. Very useful in an illusion to have this true self idea that can perceive correctly, and the correct perception is the Holy Spirit. In order to systematically and progressively make your way back into this state of mind, pure formless awareness of perfect love. So a bridge, an intermediary is necessary because we are so divorced from this in our separated state.
Mm. And it brings in the remembrance of oneness, which you can then go into, and that is what transforms the level, the ego state. It changes things, events, places, because you've
so the
allowed.
spirit becomes manifest. This is the genius, you see. It becomes manifest in the world, although it is formless.
Yes, it actually changes things.
Yeah, because mind is primary. Because of this fundamental connection between these quadrants. The internal I, the mind, thoughts, emotions, states of mind is primary, and that has an effect on the external reality. Whether you like it or not, you may not be trying to manifest anything, which is kind of the whole point of this teaching. You're not trying to manifest anything because you were recognizing that what is manifest is illusion. You're actually trying to let it go. I'm not trying to manifest anything. But when I bump myself up to another level of understanding, then just because that's the nature of mind, as within, so without, that will tend to get reflected in the external objective so-called reality. It's an illusion, but it still seems to be there as long as we're human. And so you bumped yourself up a level. Now your change of mind has a corresponding has produced a corresponding shift in the external quadrants, particularly the upper right, because that's directly observable. This is your own behavior, your own body that is directly correlated to your thoughts and emotions. You change your mind, you can notice an immediate change.
Yes.
In the body, in your behavior. So it's a kind of real-time feedback. And this is just how it works. The mechanism is that the mind does create reality. That's why the law of attraction and these kinds of things are true, because the mind has invented or projected this entire reality. You see, when you have the metaphysical understanding of the Course, you understand the deeper truth of why that happened, how that happened, and why that happened. Okay, so the entire external world and universe is a manifestation of a belief in separation. So it's all a projection of a thought outwards. But if that thought is not true, then none of it's true. I can collapse the whole thing. And that's the radical forgiveness, or letting go, that lets go of the one of any level you're on, and then naturally you go higher. As soon as you've really let go, you must bump up, go up the levels. If you keep doing that, eventually there's no more levels. You're free of the construct of time and space and the concept of all levels.
Okay.
Entirely. All right. So you're starting to see how it all, intersects, interacts. You've got the integral model, you've got the Holy Trinity diagram. You understand the Holy Trinity now, which is more than most Christian theologians. So this is all part of the awakening.
Yes, it's quite amazing. It's so well put together and understandable. It's credible. Eventually it becomes credible.
Yeah, it just becomes, oh, well, this is, yeah, of course. And of course, this is the truth. There's no confusion anymore. Of course. How could I have ever thought otherwise? Because is there any other thought system that makes any sense? And there's not. You can't explain this any other way that makes sense. So then you're, okay, well, this must be the truth then. Okay, so now I'm not seeking the truth anymore. I found the truth. Now my job is to live the truth. to apply it in my daily life, not allow myself to be sidetracked by the ego. Not allow my mind to be hijacked as you experience, because it doesn't, you realize there's no point in that. That's not reality. It doesn't feel good, doesn't feel pleasant, it's not functional, it doesn't work, it makes you and others upset. What's the point? There's no point in that at all. There is a point in being loving and peaceful and joyful and living out the rest of your life as an inspiration to others. There's a point in that. That's taking you in the right direction, and everyone else in the right direction, back home to source via the true self that you become then the representative of. So Yeshua was the Christ, was a title. He was the true self. He had identified himself with the true self so fully that that's all that remained. Expressed in the famous words, "Not my will, but thy will be done, Father," because he'd surrendered. But that's all he did. He just surrendered to his true self and let its thoughts and words and actions come through and inspire him. And then that inspiration extends out via him to the whole sonship, into this domain, shines down through the Holy Spirit to pull everyone up. A double arrow. So he's pulling us up into this awareness to say, come, I'll give you my hand, I'll raise you up into this awareness where we are one as the Christ. Your destiny is to become the Christ before you merge from that state, very high state of mind, back into pure formless awareness of perfect love. And then there's no more need for the Christ or the Holy Spirit, because there's just God. That's all that remains. So the Holy Trinity is just a device to get you home. That's all. It's a guide on the path. People mistake a learning device for absolute truth. And that's why they struggle to explain the Holy Trinity, because they're looking for absolute truth in it, but it's not absolutely true. It's just a helpful learning device. Yeah. So I think that brings us to the point where he's asking us to practice, go into meditation. So shall I guide you through a little med? You want to do that? No?
Yes.
Okay. So just making yourself comfortable. Sitting feet shoulder width apart. Back straight. Favorite meditation posture. Finally, we'll get into the same posture always. It just creates a little bit of a ritual. So you do the same thing, helps to facilitate you getting into the same state of mind quickly. So setting up for meditation, cup your hands in your lap or keep your hands apart, facing upwards on your knees. Close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in, draw the energy up the spine to your heart center. Just putting one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. Pull the energy up into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. So just scan your mind, notice any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on, particularly anything that feels at all negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, shape, or form. You breathe into that, breathe in the light. And say to yourself that freedom comes from my one self. Freedom comes from my one self. Breathe into that. Its thoughts are mine to use. Its thoughts are mine to use. And then seek its thoughts and claim them as your own. These are your own real thoughts that you've denied. Allowing your mind to wander in a world of dreams, searching for illusions to replace them. So exhale. Just blowing out the breeze of your breath. Pull the stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Just rest here. Just deep peace and stillness. Say to yourself, here are my thoughts. The only ones I truly possess. Among them lies my awakening to freedom. So I will find it there. If you succeed, thoughts that come to you will tell you you're saved. They affirm your freedom. The rediscovery of the function my awareness sought to relinquish. Myself, capital Self, will embrace it. And give it peace. Stored in strength, will once again emanate from pure formless awareness to the true awareness present in all things, extended by pure formless awareness as itself. My mind will bless all things. My true awareness will bless all things. Confusion dispelled, I am restored to my true self. I am restored, for I have found my true self. Say that to you, yourself. And then just sink into the self. Self knows that you cannot fail today. Perhaps my mind remains uncertain for a little while longer. and I shall not be dismayed by this. Joy that myself experiences will be saved for me and will become fully mine through complete awareness. Every time you practice, every hour, 5 minutes, first 5 minutes of every hour, Yeshua recommends seeking the connection between your awareness and yourself. So just sink in to the awareness of yourself. It's really not hard to do. It's just so give thanks for this teaching, for the truth will set you free and awaken you to the ultimate, infinite, eternal freedom that is yours. That is yours right here, right now. So nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. Sinking inwards to the depth of your being, the true self. Just let that experience arise in your mind, in your heart. Feel into it. Surrender to the experience completely. The next couple of minutes of deep silence. And so just gently bringing yourself back. This deep state of awareness into an awareness of the body and the breath, the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in, draw the energy up the spine. To your heart center, put one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. Draw the energy up into the crown of your head, just pausing at the top of the inhale. So it's a maximal inhale breath. And breathe in. And just scan your mind again. Notice any thoughts, any emotions going on, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way. And you're going to blow those away. Let go. Exhale. Release. As you knew, letting them go like dark clouds, leaving you going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. So on the count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair. Your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling and touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. Notice that. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things. Almost very still, calm, and surrendered state of mind. State of mind rooted in your one self, your true awareness. No fear, no anxiety, no guilt, no sin, no attack thoughts, just pure awareness streaming through. And carry this awareness with you for the rest of the afternoon and evening and on into tomorrow. Your weekend ahead. So it is said and so it is done. To help you do that, you're going to practice today's lesson. So ideally every hour, first 5 minutes of every hour, Yeshua recommends. Just apply the lesson. Remind yourself of key idea that freedom comes from my one self. It's thoughts of mine to use. Just to keep you in alignment, and then spend some time dwelling on that thought. You can use a breath break. Recorded a couple of different breath breaks at different lengths to help you, or follow the instructions I've given you in writing in the Telegram and email message for the day. Top you up, and ideally do a longer meditation again this evening or bed, just to reinforce the lesson. And so now it's time, count to 3, to open your eyes. take a minute to look around, noticing objects in the room. From the state of calm, pure formless awareness. Don't really have to name, judge, label, interpret anything. It's just there. It's very restful. It's very peaceful. You move on, look at something else, anything randomly selected. It doesn't matter, because you start to recognize that everything's the same. Underneath the seeming form reality of the separate objects, things and people, other sentient beings, is the same awareness that is unchanged and unchangeable. So you're going to root yourself, anchor your mind into that awareness, carry that awareness with you for the rest of the afternoon and evening, on into your weekend. So it is. So it is said, so it is done. And so that brings us to the end of the meditation and the first part of today's session. Okay, so
Thank you, Jono.
well, only a pleasure. Do you have to go now, or do you want to stay and do some text?
Yes, I have to go now. Steve's just arrived, and I must
Go for a walk.
walk with him.
Yeah, all perfect timing. So
Yes.
you're good. You're centered. You're calm, and just go and flow with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank the spirit.
It's Steve. Hello, Jono.
Hi, Steve.
We're going for a walk, and I'll see you Sunday night, Sunday afternoon. When is it?
Yeah. Sunday afternoon, probably. But
Okay.
I'll let you know. I'm traveling and stuff, so probably Sunday afternoon.
All right. Thanks very much.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Okay. Have a good weekend.
You
Enjoy your
too.
walk. Where are
Bye.
you going? To Mount Rhodes?
Mount Rhodes.
Oh, nice. Enjoy. It's nice weather.
Yeah, it's getting a bit chilly now. I better get a jacket. Okay. Thank you. Namaste.
Okay.
Bye.
Namaste. Bye for now. All right. So I think we'll call it quits there. I'm going to send out today's teaching on the lesson again this evening, so read that on your own. And thanks to everyone who joined the session. Sally, Christine, good session as usual, and let that presence of the one self carry you into your evening and weekend in a very connected, peaceful way. Namaste. Which means the true self in me acknowledges and honors that same one true self in you.